Okay, so now I'm able to record the class. Divya. Divya, what is composite constraints? Anybody? What is composite constraint? A constraints with multiple tables? Oh no. Composite constraints with multiple tables is wrong. Multiple columns. Shalini, a constraints with the multiple columns, not multiple tables. Okay?
Okay.
Two or more. Shweta, not records. See, I'm not talking about the data in the table. I'm talking about the constraint. Don't confuse with the columns and the data. Okay, the composite constraint is, that means a single constraint which involves the multiple columns. Okay, so now, what is the difference between drop table and the truncate table? Drop table and truncate table. What is the difference between drop table and truncate table? Avinash. Truncate will delete records, drop deletes table. So that means, so the truncate, after truncating a table, can I reinsert the data into table? So my question, yes. So after truncating a table, we can reinsert the data into tables. Okay, let's see. So now we have seen the create table, constraints and everything we have seen. What is the difference between, Shweta, what is the difference between create table and create any table? What is the difference between create table and create any table? What is the difference between create table and create any table? Shweta. See, the create table and create any table are the constraints. So now my question is, what is the difference between create table and create any table constraints? What is the difference, I'm asking? I know these two are the privileges. Create table and create any table are the privileges. Now my question is, what is the difference between, okay, create table and create any table privilege? Please, anybody? Yes, creating any table in any schema. So the create table is for creating. If you have a create table privilege, that means we can create a table in our own schema only. If I have a create any table, we can create a table in any user's schema. Okay, let's see. We are going to start alter table. What is the use of alter table command? So alter table command is for altering the structure of a table. Alter table is for altering structure of a table. We can change the structure of a table. So basically, I want to drop a column. Okay, I want to add a new columns to the table. I want to add a constraints. I want to rename a column. I want to drop a column. Okay, I want to enable or disable a constraints. I want to enable or disable a trigger on a table. I want to mark the column as unusable, and we can rename a column. Okay, now before going into this one, yesterday I have given a one assignment, right, to everyone. What is that assignment? In yesterday class, I gave you one assignment. What is that assignment? One-to-one relationships. How do you implement a one-to-one relationship in Oracle? How do you implement a one-to-one relationship in a table? Shalini, Shravani, Ashok, Avinash, Harita, Mahesh. How do you implement a one-to-one relationship in a table? Okay. Anybody tried at least? Anybody tried? Okay. Now try it. If we don't get it, PK on both tables. There is no associative tables, no joins. We have to implement. See, whenever you are implementing a relationship between the two tables, so the only way to implement a relationship between the two tables is through foreign key constraint. Okay, so if anybody asks you to implement a relationship between the two tables, the only way to implement a relationship between the two tables is through foreign keys only. Through foreign keys only. Okay, there is no other alternative. That's only way we can do is through foreign keys. Okay, now let's see. We will see few examples on these things. Few examples, not all. Okay, let's see. Adding a new column syntax. Say try one more time one-to-one relationships. So Avinash got answer very close. Foreign key PK, but something needs to be created along with the PKs. Adding new columns to existing table. So I want to add a new columns. Okay, how can I add a new column? So the syntax is alter table name. Alter table name. So add column 1, data type 1 and with size. Column 2, data type 2 with size. We can add any number of columns on a single table. We can add any number of columns on a single table. So the simple one, add column name. Okay, so add alter table name, add column 1, data type 1, column 2, data type 2 and so on. So this is the simple adding a table. Alter table. So okay, let's see student table. Last name is that I want to add a last name. Alter table student. Okay, add. I want to adding a last name to the database. Last name varchar 2 of some 10. So I'm adding a last name. So the column table altered. So now if you refresh this table, you will see a new column. See here. So the recently added column last name is coming here. So I simply added a column here. Okay, I simply added a column. That's it. So similarly, so here we can give a default values or constraints. We can create a constraint on the column. So default value or constraint. That's it. Okay, alter table name, add a table column name. So we can add any number of columns. If anybody asks you to add a column to a table, we can simply use a alter table student to add column name. The simple one. So let's say please practice this one. So now modifying a column. What are the operations we can do for modifying a column? Modifying a column definition. Column on table. What are the operations we can do for modifying? In the last class we discussed for modifying the column, modification, not rename. We can change the data type, we can increase or decrease the size of a column. See, these are the operations we can do. So we can change the data type and we can increase or decrease the size of a column. So the syntax is so here instead of add by we are going to have a modifier. So I'm modifying a structure of a table. So alter table name. Okay, modify column 1, data type 1, and the data type, the constraint, the same constraints. Okay, so now we can increase or decrease the data types of a column. So one thing we need to remember is, okay, this is the new data type. See here, simple one, alter table student, modify last name of varchar2 of some 25, varchar2 of some 25, alter table student. See here, the student table has a varchar2 of 10. I'm increasing the size to 25. See, now when I refresh it, the table, it has a 25. So the column definition got increased. Okay, for increasing the column width, there is no restrictions. No restrictions for increasing the column size. For increasing the column, no restrictions. Now, for decreasing a column, okay, if we have data in the table, okay, existing data should satisfy the new size. If you have data in the table, existing data should satisfy new size. This is the very important point for decreasing a column size. Okay, for increase, no issues. We don't need to do anything for increasing. But only thing is for decreasing a column, okay, let's see, alter table name. What is the column name we have here? So the name column is 25. I'm changing back to 10. Name, alter table student, modify name varchar2 of some 10. So I simply added a alter a table, modify name varchar2 of 10. That's it. See a column decrease. So the decrease, if there is no data, no issues. We can decrease it also. Okay, so now I'm adding a one row in the table. I'm adding a one row in my table. Okay, so now I created a one row in my table. Okay, so now let's see. Select star from student. I have a column size of 10. So now I'm executing a select star from. So now here the data we have a data in the table. How much data we have in the table? So the column size is 10 and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 columns. Okay, so now I want to decrease the size. For increasing, no issues. Let's see here, I'm increasing a size. I'm increasing a size to 20. Even though if you have a data for increasing the column size of no issues. So we don't have any issues for increasing. But for decreasing to 10, no issues, because the existing data in my table, I have a existing data is satisfying new size. That is fine. So now I'm decreasing to 5 is not possible. See here, cannot decrease the column length because some value is too long. I have some data in my table with a value greater than or equal to new size, which is not possible. See here, I'm decreasing the column size to 5. Okay, alter table student, modify. I'm modifying a name to varchar2 of 5, which is not possible. Why? Existing data have some data. Everybody is clear? Everybody is clear this point. For decreasing the column size, if you have data in the table, existing data should satisfy the new type. And the second one is, if you want to change the data type, if we want to change data type, okay, the column should be empty. Data, if you want to change data type of column, okay, so we should not have data in that column. In that column, so we should not have data in that column. Okay, that is the very important. Let's see. Okay, so now alter table student. Okay, so I'm modifying the data type like this. So I have a gender column is varchar2 of 1 by 2. I want to change it to number of 1. Modify gender column. Just I want to show you. So number of 1. So I'm changing back to data type is changing to number. See here, table student altered. So now the data type is number because I changed the gender column to number. Okay, now number is 1. So I inserted and I updated. Okay, so now again I want to change back to character. Character of changing back to character of 1, which is not possible. Column to be modified must be empty to change data type. That's why. So if you want to change the data type of a column, we should not have data in that column. Everybody is clear? Yes or no, please? So we can do 3 operations. We can increase or decrease the size, and we can rename a. Okay. Everybody is clear. So now I can make a data null and then add a column. Okay, so now delete. Now I can change back to character. Okay, now let's see. I can change back to varchar. Perfect. Column altered. Okay, now this is the data type. Okay, so now I'm adding a gender column now is character of 1. Okay, so now I'm adding a modifying again for not null. Is it possible? Now I'm adding a not null constraints to a column. Cannot enable a null values found. Why? I want to add a not null constraints to a table. I want to define column as a not null, but existing data have some nulls. That's why it is not possible to enable not null on a column which already have some data. Everybody is clear? Everybody is clear? Which is not possible to enable not null on a column which already have some data. Yes or no, please? Everybody is clear? Shalini, Shweta, Harita, everybody is clear? Yes. So now this is the simple examples of the one thing we need to make sure is we need to see all these options. Okay. So now I want to drop a column. Please note down all the concept points. Dropping a column from table. So drop column name. I want to drop a column, alter table name. Drop column name. We cannot drop more than one column at a time. Okay, so this we cannot drop more than one column because the syntax itself is drop column name. Adding and modify we can work on multiple columns. Adding and modification can be done on multiple columns, but dropping a column is not possible. We cannot drop more than one column at a time. From database table, from table. So this is very important. We cannot drop more than one column at a table. So now the syntax is alter table table name student, drop column last name. Drop column last name. So alter table student, drop column last name. So table altered. That's it. So then now the last name column got dropped. Okay, the last name column got dropped. Simple, dropping a column. Okay, so renaming a column. Renaming a column. The syntax is alter table, table name, alter table, table name, rename column, column name to new name. New name. Simple. So alter table, table name, rename column, column name to new name. So, and we cannot rename more than one column at a time. We cannot rename more than one column at a time. See here, alter table student, rename column name to full name. I want to see the full name. Rename a column, alter table, table name, rename column name to full name. That's it. Alter table student, rename column name to full name. Alter table student, rename column name to full name. That's a simple one. Okay. Right? Everybody is clear? So renaming a table. These are the simple commands and I rarely use this command. Syntax alter table, table name, rename to new name. To new name. Alter table person CONS. Rename to person 2. Just I am renaming back to person 2 record or person underscore BKP. I am renaming a table with constraints to table person alter. So alter table, table name, rename to person backup. So now I have a CONS table. When I refresh it, it's changed back to see here, person underscore backup. I renamed it back to table. Okay, everybody is clear. Everybody is clear so far, please. Yes or no? Avinash, Ashok, Shalini, Shweta, Mahesh, Kiran, Divya. Yes. Okay, adding a constraints to table. Constraints to table. So, using alter table command, we can add constraints. Using alter table command, we can add a constraints to table. Okay, the syntax is, what are the constraints we have? Okay, we have primary key, and you have unique, and you have check constraint, and we have foreign key constraint. Foreign key constraint. Okay, so primary key name and unique name and check constraint and foreign key constraint. So the syntax is, we can add a table, we can alter a table for adding a constraint. So the see this complete syntax. So, alter table, table name, alter table, table name, add constraint, constraint name, constraint type, on column 1, comma column 2, and so on. Okay, add constraint name, constraint type column 1 column 2. So this column 1, if you want to create the composite constraints, we need to have a multiple columns. So if you want to add a composite constraints, we need to have a multiple columns. Okay, so alter table name, add constraint name, and column 1 column 2 and so on. Okay, so now optional references, parent table. Parent table of parent table column 1. This is for foreign key constraints. Column 2 and so on. That's it. See here, alter table name. I'm adding a constraint type and then references. Okay, so let's see how many constraints I have in this table. Person table. Okay, I have a constraints. Every table has a constraints. Let's drop a table person backup. I want to show you. Okay, drop table person underscore. Just I want to show you the commands adding a person table. Drop. Okay, so now I'm creating another table. Create table person underscore bkp as select. I'll explain this command after a few minutes. So now I'm creating a table from another table. I'll explain this command, just wait. Okay, so now I have a table called person underscore bkp. Okay, I have a table called person underscore bkp without any constraints. There is no constraints on the table. I want to add a constraints. Okay, so there is no constraints on the table person underscore bkp. There is no constraints, only I have the check constraint. Name is not null. So now I want to add a primary key on this one. I want to add a primary key on person ID and check constraints on the DOB. Okay, so now the syntax is alter table person underscore bkp. Okay, so now adding a constraint name pk underscore person underscore bkp underscore pk primary key table name person ID. Okay, the constraint type is primary key of column name is person ID. That's it. So now I'm adding a constraint. Alter table name. Add a constraints pk underscore person underscore bkp underscore person ID and a primary key of person ID. It's simple. See, table altered with a primary key. Table altered with a primary key. Simple one. So now I want to add a check constraint. Gender. So now I'm checking a condition. Check column gender in bracket either M or F. It allows only either M or F only. Alter table name. Add constraint name. So I'm adding a check constraint with gender of M comma F. See a constraints with the name added with the check gender in M or F. The simple one. So similarly we can add foreign keys also. Okay, let's say I'm adding a constraint. Alter table name person underscore bkp. Okay, add constraint fk underscore person id underscore person bkp underscore person id. Okay, so constraint of select a person id. Just that's for only for the reference example only. Person id references student table of student id. Just this is a simple example only. Don't make this is a reasonable one. See, I'm adding the person BKP table with a student table, foreign key. STD ID and person ID. Where it is wrong? Where it is wrong? There is a constraint type, foreign key. Please see the syntax. Simple. A person backup table added with a foreign key constraint. See here. So the constraint added. Okay. Everybody is it clear, please? Yes or no? Yes or no, please? So alter table name, add constraint type and column 1 comma column 2 and so on references the parent tables. Parent tables column 1, column 2, column 3 and so on. Okay. Now we can drop a constraint. We can disable or enable a constraint. Dropping a constraint from table. Dropping constraints from table. Okay. Alter table name, drop constraint name. We saw, but thing is we need to know the constraint name. Before dropping, we need to know the constraint name. Alter table person underscore BKP drop constraint name. So this is the constraint name I'm dropping. I'm dropping a foreign key constraint on the table. I'll create it again. Okay, so now this is the dropping a constraint. One restriction we have is we need to know the constraint name. See, earlier 4, after refresh I got only 3. Okay, so now this is the simple dropping a constraint from a table. So I'm dropping a constraint. Okay, so the drop constraint name. I'm going to create a constraint again. Let's see. Here I'm creating with a different style. Okay, is this syntactically is correct or not? Is this correct or not? Okay, first let's execute this one. So I'm executing a references student. I did not specify the parent table column name. Yeah, person backup altered. So they executed successfully. Okay, so now here I'm creating a foreign key for person ID which references student. I did not mention any column from the parent table. So then what it takes? It takes primary key of the column. Primary key of the column only. If we don't mention the any parent table column in the foreign key, interview question and if we don't mention any column from parent table for foreign key, so then it takes parent table's primary key column. Primary key column. Default. By default, it takes parent table's primary key column. Everybody is clear? Everybody is clear, please? Yes or no? Please let me know. See here. Here I am explicitly specifying the parent table column student of STD ID. Here I am not specifying a parent tables column. If we don't specify any parent tables column, so then it takes a default value of primary key column. It takes the default column. Okay, now the second one is, so this is we have seen dropping a constraint. So what is the restriction we have? Dropping a constraint. So we need to know the drop constraint to constraint name. We need to know the drop constraint constraint name. Otherwise, it will be a difficult. Okay, so now I'm saying another one is enabling or disabling a constraint. Okay, enabling or disabling a constraint. Using alter table command, we can enable or disable. Alter table name. Alter table name. Okay, so enable or disable. Enable or disable constraint name. Constraint name. Alter table name. Enable or disable constraint name. Alter table name. Enable or disable a constraint. Okay, let's see here. In a person backup table, I have a constraint called check constraint. This is the name. I'm disabling this constraint. So what is the use of this checker? Please observe carefully. Next 2 minutes. Okay, the check constraint accepts only male or female only. It accepts only M or F only. Okay, so now alter table person underscore BKP disable constraint name. Disable constraint name. So I'm disabling this constraint. That's it. So a column got a constraint is see here. Every constraint is in status of see here it is enabled status. After disable, change it to disable. So by default, every constraint is in enable state. Enable means it applies. Okay, so now I'm adding a record. I'm adding a record 1 and I'm adding a record with okay, date of birth is something. Here I mentioned a. So I did not specify M or F. So it accepted because this constraint is in the disabled state. Okay. So as this check constraint is in the disabled state, so the Oracle will not use that check constraint M or F. Oracle will not use that one. Okay. So now I'm enabling back. Alter table name person underscore BKP enable the constraint CK underscore. Okay, so now is it possible to enable it? No, it is not possible because the existing data cannot validate the check constraint violated. Check constraint violated because existing data is not satisfying or is not allowing or is not supported the constraint definition. Existing data is not supporting the constraints. Everybody is clear? Everybody is a clear place. So existing constraints does not validate this to records. That's why we have to be careful while enabling or disabling a constraint. So once you disabled a constraint, you can do whatever operations you want on the table. But whenever you are re-enabling the constraints, you cannot enable the constraint because of existing data. Everybody is clear? Yes or no, please? Yes, sir. So now we are going to, these are all the alter table and but is there any way we can enable the constraint with something? Let's see. Maybe I'm not. No validate. So see here, enabling a constraint with the option of no validate. What does it mean? That's what I'm saying. The syntax is wrong. Let me check the syntax. I need to use enable no validate. Just syntax mistakes only. I'm checking the syntax. Okay. No validate constraint name. See, table altered. What does this mean? Enable no validate. That means this option. So enable the no validate. That means existing data. Oracle will not check the constraint for existing data. So it will validate the new data. Okay, but existing data it won't validate it. Everybody is clear. If anybody asks you, so I have existing data, but I want to create a constraint, but that constraint should validate from the new data only, not on the existing data. How can I do it? We can do with enable no validate. We can enable with a no validate. That means Oracle won't check the existing data for the constraint. Oracle won't check existing data for constraints. Everybody is clear? Yes or no, please? Yes, sir. This is very important. Enable data means, so enable no validate. By default, all constraints are in enable state. By default, all constraints are in enable state. Enable state. By default, all constraints are in enable state. Only constraints which are in enable state will be verified. The only constraints which are in enable state will be verified. Okay, so we can enable a constraint with a no validate option on existing data using enable no validate. We can add a constraint also. See here. Here I'm adding a constraint. Alter table add constraints. Here I can put a enable no validate. Enable no validate. That means I'm adding a constraint on existing table with already have a data, but I don't want to enforce the constraints on existing data. I want to enforce the constraints on new data only. Enable no validate. Everybody is clear? Everybody is clear, please? Enable no validate. So these are the alter table and constraints. Okay, so now we are going to see. Okay, yeah, today I'm stopping here. So tomorrow we will see synonyms. Synonyms, and then we can see sequences. We'll try to finish and we will start views tomorrow. We'll start views tomorrow. We'll finish the views on Saturday. So we'll hope next Monday and Tuesday we will be discussing on tuning SQL statements. Tuning SQL statements. That's it. We're going to have a 3 or more classes in the next couple of days. Okay, so see you tomorrow at 8 o'clock. So please practice all these tables and everything. Okay, everybody is clear? Please practice all the tables. Bye. Everybody is clear, please? Ashok, Avinash, Divya, Harita, Mahesh, Shalini, Shravani, Shweta. Yes, see you tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Bye.